going to the quilt shop for.
Yeah.
Not that I've been able to do it in a very long time, but the things online, same kind of deal.
Yeah, it's hard to know.
Because,
Yeah.
it's like buying clothes online. Some stuff you can get away with, but others, it's just a
Like
guessing
if
game.
you've got a place that's great,
Yeah.
and but just random stuff, not so much.
Well, and also I get frustrated because online, I can't be sure that the color is the way the color looks on my screen.
Right. Yeah.
And if I'm and as picky as I am, if it's even half a shade off, I've got these Christmassy greens, but one of them's got too much yellow in it as opposed to the, more bluer tones of the others. Oh, that's going to drive me blinking crazy. So it's not that I wouldn't. It's fantastic for resources for tools.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of thing. And, it's definitely allows you access to a lot more stuff without necessarily having to, drive further to specialty shops.
Mm-hmm.
But there's something to be said for seeing things in person, too.
I agree.
My husband cross-stitches, and over Father's Day weekend, we took a piece that he made for me in to have it professionally framed, because he puts enough time and effort into it to justify it.
Right.
And
that's a big moment.
Yeah. And it's just gorgeous. He's really fast and really neat, too. I have a feeling that if he ever took up sewing, I'd be ashamed of that, too. But fortunately, he's not headed that way. So, yeah, he definitely lapped me when it came to cross-stitching. But being really in that store, seeing the different sample pieces that were up, looking at the patterns, it's just, and there's something about the texture in those things too. Mm-hmm. And I think that comes across also when you're quilting because it is very tactile.
It is.
And you want whatever you're using to be comfortable enough, and you want it when it's done to feel as good as you put the effort into it.
Yeah. Right.
If you make a quilt with crappy fabric, it's not going to last. And I know this from personal experience because I'm probably going to quilter's hell when I die. My brother and I destroyed a quilt accidentally on purpose. We didn't understand. We were little kids, and my dad's grandmother made quilts, and this was a fan style. There's a name for it, and actually they had two. They had a fan style one, and they also had a Dresden plate style one. One of them was, I know for sure, was made by my dad's grandmother, and she made them for all her grandchildren and tucked them away so that they'd be made in case she passed away before they got married, which is incredibly sweet. But poor rural area, and the whole reason quilting kind of came into vogue was reusing scraps of fabric. Mm-hmm. So she used fabric. Only by the 20th century, used fabric is not what it once was.
Right.
And so they'd wash it, and the dog would climb up on the bed, and she'd put a hole in something, and we just tear the little pieces apart because it was fun to make fringe and what have you. Yeah, and my mom obviously wasn't fussy about it because, but to us it was just fun to kind of tear these little, and it disintegrated till eventually she was left with a backing that had, because this woman used the tied knot method, so she had these yarn ties on this backing. It was the saddest thing you ever saw.
That's why I just were left. The tide, that's awesome. But that's like a truly loved quilt, right?
Well,
it was used, it was abused. And,
I don't know if it was loved.
Well,
because I do remember there being fabrics on there that were not what you'd think of as traditional as quilting fabrics. Definitely not the cottons or maybe linen or flannel.
Yeah.
But early 60s polyester
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
stuff.
Well, right. So she was making, when was she quilting these, you think?
Oh, gosh, that's a good question. She passed away, I was born in 73. She passed away not long before that, like maybe even just in the
60s,
summer before
50s,
it. So,
60s, 70s?
yeah, probably
Early
60s for the most part, 50s, 60s, yeah.
Really cool.
Yeah. So, I mean, it is cool, but it's like,
Do you still think
forgive
you're
me,
going
Lord,
to
I did not know. I
You
know.
didn't know.
I didn't know what I was doing. I know not what I did.
love it. I love it.
Yeah.
All right, so let me ask you 2 more questions. So that's the economic question.
Okay.
Economics of quilting.
Yeah.
So when you look at when you get inspired by something, that's totally okay in your book. Like if you see something and you make another quilt, you don't have any worries about like, this is the copyright side of it. So,
I've never really thought about that as copyright. It was interesting when you first mentioned that as a concept. I have 2 thoughts on it. If I exactly copied something and I tried to claim this is my own original blah, 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 and made money off of it, that I'd feel hanky about. But if I'm making something that I'm giving to someone as a gift or I'm using it home, I mean, I don't think that's any different than people who, draw samples of famous artists' pieces. If you practice drawing the Mona Lisa and sketching it because you're an art student and you're learning or something.
Right. For your private, personal use, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Now,
I think so too.
I do feel that if you have designed something and you have very specific designs, and part of this is because I don't need these kinds of things very often. I don't buy like a whole designer set of patterned blah, blah, blah. I mean, I'm not going to steal the stuff of someone who has done something like that. But if you want to make a pattern and you want to sell it, that's cool. So
what if you saw, like, let's just do hyper. Let's say that cool wedding quilt, the graduation one. You you post that on Pinterest, and then suddenly you see either other people are making it. Let's start there. You put yours up, and then a few months later, you see your other people have now made your stuff. How do you feel about that?
Well,
excited, irritated.
Given what I do, I mean, how I do use this as a hobby, I don't think it would bother me enormously. I have to admit that if I started seeing other people make money off that idea, then I might be like, that's
my second question. Right. Okay, so they take your pattern, and now you're searching on Etsy, and you see exactly what you did, but somebody's now selling them on Etsy. How do you feel about that?
That potentially could bother me, yeah.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think with handwork, I mean, there's so much stuff, if you have someone who's really making it by hand, that's going to be tweaked. I mean, if you can inspire someone, cool. But yeah, if I had made a pattern and someone else, and I sold the pattern, or I, gave it to someone and that person then sells a product based off the pattern that I had chosen to sell rather than put out there.
Right.
Yeah, those would all make me uncomfortable.
And would it matter if they credited you? Would that make you feel better? Or is it the credit, is it the attribution, or the financial part that bothers you, or both?
I think there's the potential for both. I think but this all feels very hypothetical to me at the same time, because I don't foresee doing some of those things.
Right.
But I think attribution would be
matters more.
More of a.
All right. So then you go to Macy's or JCPenney's, and you see your quilt. And you know it's yours.
Yeah.
You know it's yours. It's exactly the same. You sat with your mother. You know that color, and they're selling your quilt. Now, how do you feel?
Then
Proud?
I will freely admit that I'd kind of be pissed.
Attorney time?
I don't know how I'd handle it for sure, but yeah, I would definitely not be happy.
Right.
But on the other hand, I would also know, even if it was the exact same shape design, it wouldn't be my quilt.
Yeah.
Because the amount of money we put into just the fabric from that freaking quilt, Even a mass market producer, you would have to use lower end fabrics.
Yeah.
You would be doing, machine stitching that was, on big, tight, what have yous. It's not going to feel the same as something produced by hand.
Interesting.
Yeah. So in that respect,
so you're cool.
I would see a quality difference.
Yeah. Interesting. So that's kind of what we're trying to understand is like how much you feel like it's yours versus how much you're just excited people are using it or how much you don't care.
Well, so this is really an interesting thing because obviously not relating to quilts, but as a librarian, one of the things that we do, we share flipping everything.
That's right. That's what I was going to ask about next.
Programs and activities. And, I went to the Illinois Youth Services Institute conference and everybody's throwing out their best ideas at each other. And we're like, oh, cool, I'm going to copy that. And they're like, oh, yeah, I'll send you stuff and this and that. And they're like, librarians everywhere are, this worked and it was awesome. You should try it.
Right.
Teachers.
Same thing.
No.
Teachers aren't that way.
Teachers, there are...
Librarians sharing culture. Teachers not sharing culture.
They create a lesson plan and they will not give it away for free.
I actually worked on I think Teachers Pay Teachers. I helped them with
that's
the FAQ.
Exactly the site that I was thinking of.
Really?
Yes.
I did the FAQ for that. I helped them with their legal side of that.
Yeah.
That was very funny. So
because that's one of the things that I became aware of. We've got...
It's weird.
One of the ladies in our department at work, she is a former teacher, and now her big artistic endeavor is puppetry. And she's amazing what she's accomplished in like the last 4 or 5 years. She wants to create, some storytime lessons and things using puppets with patterns. But she's like, I've made these patterns. I've created this lesson plan. It's all right here for someone. They can take it and implement the whole thing without having to put any effort into it. Why shouldn't I get paid for my time and effort? Mm-hmm. And I was kind of like, there's no reason she shouldn't. But my gut instincts were different on that one. Yeah.
A different culture.
I just would have been like, oh, look, so-and-so did this and this was so cool and blah, blah, blah.
Right.
But then again, teachers have to make lesson plans. They have to do things. Right. And honestly, especially when we're dealing with teenagers, my God, we're so desperate to get anybody to come to our programs that it's like, wait, you had something that worked? How did that go?
Right.
Everybody's kind of looks and goes, what? How do I do? How do I do that?
The drama. That's really interesting. Okay, so let's do one more.
Mm-hmm.
When you said you got patterns off of Pinterest for your turtles.
The sewing class?
Can you walk me through? You saw a turtle.
My Pinterest pages are insane. I have way too much stuff, including a quilting board, and that I will never accomplish. But at some point or another, I was looking for a project that was a step beyond making the pillowcase. And we had gotten these, also through the same company, gotten these packs of 3 fat quarters in a box that were
cool.
color coordinated.
Mm-hmm.
And I was looking for something, what can we make with 3 fat quarters? And I had tried a bunch of different ideas, and I ran across this little pattern for this turtle, and I thought, it's cute. Plus, turtles aren't too girly or guyish, so you can, though unfortunately all the fabric's pretty feminine. And I went to the person's site. They had it freely available, so we printed it out, and again, I don't feel like it's not like I'm selling these.
No.
I think I would feel uncomfortable selling something based on a pattern that someone else put out there freely.
Mm-hmm. Do you think it matters that it's for a library and for teaching children?
I do. I think that because we are freely giving the pattern away, and we're teaching the kids, I have no problem using it. And also I have printed the actual PDF pages, so I gave credit to the designer. Right. What I would not want to do, I think, is probably take that design and make a bunch of them and sell them at a craft fair. well, because number one, I wouldn't feel it was fancy enough to justify it, but also I just that would feel
That's
somehow
yeah.
that would